Hey, all right. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Urshel Speaks on this another amazing Tuesday. Glad to be here with you. We're going to follow up. I'm going to jump right into it from our conversation from last week, talking about your personal legend. So this is your personal legend part two, and there's an aspect of this part of living the life. And let me preface today's conversation and probably every conversation going forward, or at least the foreseeable future. These conversations are based on the fact that I feel like I just believe that every person listening to me talk, taking the time to listen to the show, and I super appreciate you taking the time to listen. I would love it if you would like, comment, share, because we're here on Facebook Live, but also on YouTube Live and a couple of other places out there. Man, if you could just share and help me grow the show, we're gonna do some things to absolutely impact the way people think, challenging people to think in a better way. Because that's my goal. I don't want to tell people what to think, but I definitely want to challenge people to think, and that's a big part of the conversation today as we continue talking about your personal legend or your personal greatness. That term, personal legend, comes from the book The Alchemist, which if you haven't read it or if you don't read it once a year or a couple of times a year, fix yourself. You should change that and check out that book. Read it. It's a great allegory and has lots of things. And so I've been thinking about that term, your personal greatness. If have known me for a while, you know what I feel like my story and what my life and my mission and my vision is supposed to be. I think some people do, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people, as a part of the what has progressed into the American dream or even the worldwide dream, have settled for a life of safety, security, stability, instead of pursuing personal greatness. And that doesn't mean in any way that you can't work a job or have safety and security and not be pursuing your personal greatness or your personal legend. But I want to address personal greatness and your personal legend today. Um, and one of the things that I think is a major factor that hinders us in the way that we think if we are pursuing greatness. And it's a buzzword today, and it's a big part of a lot of conversations, and it's a big part of political conversations right now. And that's not what we're going to talk about. Because that's not really necessarily going to make a difference in your greatness. It may make a difference in your relationships. It may make a difference in whatever type of, if we're able to have any holiday gatherings, the conversations that you have at the dinner table or watching football games or whatever. And that word is something that we've been hearing a lot, but I want to approach it from a different perspective. It's two words: confirmation bias. Again, this is something that we've been hearing. We have entire industries of information now that are feeding off of confirmation bias. Right there, there's an entire economy. There's a market. There is a supply and demand for confirmation bias, probably like there's never been before. It has probably never been a multi-billion-dollar industry before. And there's a reason why. But again, that's not today's conversation. Today's conversation, as it relates to your personal greatness, as it relates to you and me becoming everything that we were created to be, fulfilling the dreams that we have or that we had. Uh, and maybe for some of us, our dreams of greatness go all the way back to when we were kids and end and die somewhere around there. And for many people, they die before college. For many people, they die, after they get their first job or after they have their first major failure in life, whether it be, the loss of a job or a divorce or a business failure. And that dream of personal greatness dies or takes a major hit. And again, that has to do with a different bias that maybe we'll talk about later. But today I want to talk about your personal greatness, achieving your personal legend, fulfilling the dream of your life, the dream of your existence, maximizing your potential, choosing not to accept life by default, whatever comes to me, whatever circumstances, whatever things that I encounter, and I just accept them and then keep it moving. This is the job I got, so that's what I'm pursuing. But really moving towards greatness. And I want to talk for a few minutes about how we need to measure our confirmation bias as we move forward towards greatness. Because I mean, confirmation bias, we understand what that is. And I found a great quote by someone who, is worth listening to when it comes to these things. And it's Warren Buffett. And he says, what the human being is best at doing is interpreting all new information so that their prior conclusions remain intact. Let me read that again, since I kind of chewed it up a little bit. Warren Buffett said, what the human being is best at doing is interpreting all new information so that their prior conclusions remain intact. Confirmation bias is a tendency to interpret new evidence as confirmation of one's existing beliefs and theories. And I'm going to tell you really quickly before, we go on and make this an amazing, great, and awesome day, because that's what it's supposed to be, how that impacts your ability to be great and to fulfill your potential. Now, again, coming from someone like Warren Buffett, now think about it, depending on what you know about Warren Buffett and his success and how he has, in the industry that he's in, which basically that industry is taking money and making money, investing, buying companies, growing those companies, never losing money, buy them low, build them up, sell them high, and building that portfolio. There's so many things about Warren Buffett that we can learn even based on this, because one of the things that he didn't allow as he grew in this business and became everything that he is, he didn't allow the bias of the industry that he was in to change the way that he thought, but he also didn't let the way that he thought keep him from taking risks, making changes and challenges. Confirmation bias, when we take in new information and we allow it to be shaped, we allow it to be managed, we allow it to be judged and interpreted only based on the information, the beliefs, and the theories that we already have, what we do is we limit our ability. We bring this into our brain and we trap it based on the information that's already there. And we say that it has to fit within this belief system. And what that doesn't allow us to do, it doesn't allow us to take that information and allow new information to impact and change us, to change the way that we think, to change the way that we operate. And that's really important for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons, obviously, is we don't come into any situation with all the information. We don't come into any circumstance with a full 360 perspective of all the data. Situation with all the information. My mother-in-law is calling me. Hey, Mom, she's going to probably watch this later. And so since we don't have all of that information, if we automatically encapsulate new information based on what we have, it doesn't allow us to shift or change perspective. And oftentimes it doesn't allow our thinking or our knowledge to grow, because we instantly want to shrink new information, new theories, and new perspectives down to fit what we already believe. And anything that doesn't fit, what happens is it's like this cool cup that one of my friends bought me. So awesome there. I've been drinking out of it every day since I got it. It's like I say, okay, well, I'm going to pour something into this cup. And the problem with pouring something in this cup can only contain so much, right? That's different than my brain. That's different than my heart. That's different than my belief system. So if I pour too much into this cup, then it's going to spill over, right? It's not going to be able to contain anymore. Well, our brain is not that way. Our belief system isn't that way. But here's the good thing about that analogy is if what's in this cup, if it isn't the best coffee, if it isn't, pure, if it's dirty or whatever, if I pour clean water and I pour more and more in there, then a couple of things have to happen. One, as it gets to capacity, some of what was already in there is going to come out, and some of what wasn't in there before is going to go in. So if there was dirty water and I'm pouring clean water, eventually, if I keep pouring enough clean water, I'll have a cup full of clean water and all the dirty water will be out, right? That's one of the things that can happen. But when it comes to our brain, we don't have to do that. We don't have to say, okay, this is the information I have. Now I get new information. I get new perspective. I get new understanding. And so I don't have to reject everything that I've ever believed or everything that I've ever known. What I can do is I can add to what I believe. I can say, you know what, that's a different perspective. I look at things that are going on now. I look at people that are making decisions. I look at politicians, business, and I think, what in the world must that person be thinking? How can they make that decision? But you know what? Many times I've said that. You've probably said that. What were you thinking? If you have children, you probably said that. What were you thinking? You know, the problem with that question is many times when we ask that question, we're not actually asking for information. We're making a statement. And the statement that we're making is, you made a stupid decision. Why did you do that? And we're not saying, what were you thinking? What was the thought process that brought you to this decision? What were the events? What are the things that have happened? What was the data that you gathered? What were the emotions, the feelings, and what was the outcome that you were looking for that brought you to this moment to make this decision? Because sometimes if we actually genuinely ask that question, even when it's our children, if we genuinely ask that question, what were you thinking? What were you feeling? Why did it seem like a good thing to do at this moment and at this time? Then we might come away with information that changes us, that impacts us. And here's the crazy thing that will happen, especially when it comes to other people. We might actually develop a greater understanding of the people and circumstances around us, which again only contributes to our own personal greatness. It only contributes for me to my ability to influence other people towards greatness, because you can't influence people that you don't understand where they are and what their motivations are. You can't even influence yourself to greatness if you're not taking the time to understand, why do I think this way? What brought me to the belief systems that I have? What brought me to this place of feeling this way about these things? I can tell you, for me, so many things used to be black and white, no gray, no compromise, no nothing, right? And I was willing to defend everything that I thought either black or white about to the T. And I was not looking necessarily in certain areas for new information. I was standing firm on what I thought. And, but the thing happens, you keep traveling around the sun, you keep having birthdays, you keep gaining more experience. And if you don't allow your mind to be closed as you receive information, and when you recognize that this information resonates with what I already think, with what I already believe and what I already know, but is there Paul Harvey? Is there more? Is there the rest of the story? Are there factors that I cannot instantly connect to because it's not tied to my experience? It's not tied to my education. It's not tied to the body of knowledge that I already have. And as a result, I instantly receive that information. Part of it I connect with, part of it I don't connect with. And there's the challenge. As we pursue greatness, the information that we don't connect or instantly agree with, do we evaluate it, find what's good and assimilate it? Or do we instantly reject it and find ways to invalidate that information because it doesn't resonate with what we already believe and what we already know? Do we evaluate it and assimilate it, the parts that are good, that are valuable, or even what we can accept? Because maybe we haven't grown to that point where we can accept this new information and be able to use that to better ourselves. Maybe that information, maybe we're just not ready for it. A friend of mine used to tell me, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. And that was one of the things that helped me in my faith to start trying to argue people into believing the way that I believed. And it gave me the clue to start influencing people and connecting with people and understanding people. And then my ability to impact their lives exponentially grew. The work became a lot easier because it wasn't me trying to convince them to believe what I believed. It was actually me connecting with them and then believing in me. And then leadership and influence is a lot easier when a person connects with you and believes in you. We need to take a look as we pursue greatness. We don't have to not have strong convictions. I'm not saying that we should not have beliefs, thoughts, and ideas that we're very passionate and very strong about. But what I do know for a fact is that if we allow confirmation bias to continually force us to reject new information and to interpret it only in light of what we already know and believe and hold fast to, that our ability to fulfill our own greatness, to achieve at the highest levels and to maximize our potential is severely limited just based on the simple fact that we come into this situation, we come into this life with very little information. And we're only able to obtain information at the pace that we obtain it. And if we don't allow new information to be assimilated in ways that will help us to grow, our ability to influence other people, starting with ourselves, becomes very limited. So in your pursuit of your personal greatness, in your pursuit of your personal legend, in my pursuit, let's make sure that new information gets its fair hearing in our ears, in our brains, and in our hearts. Let's evaluate information. Let's evaluate circumstances. Let's evaluate ways of thinking and other cultures and beliefs and lifestyles in a way that once we receive that information, it's kind of like judo. Once you give me something, I'm going to hold on to it and I'm going to use it to my advantage. I don't have to agree with everything. I don't have to believe everything. And I can't, I won't. But what I can do is take new information and allow it to help me move closer to my personal legend and the greatness that my life is supposed to be about, and the greatness your life is supposed to be about. My name is Urshel. This is Urshel Speaks. It's going to have to be a great day because I already said so. So you go make it for you. I'm going to go make it for me. Let's go make it together, and we'll make this world a better place. Hey, have an awesome day. We'll see you next week. Bye.